Part 5 of Uncovering the Dark and Hidden Truths Behind Antidepressants. In the next 2 videos, I'll explore how clinical trials and meta-analyses funded by antidepressant manufacturers hid the side effects. Prior to 2004, the FDA and antidepressant manufacturers failed to disclose that their drugs increased the risk of suicidal behavior in adolescents. What changed this was a meta-analysis that looked at all 24 placebo-controlled randomized trials of antidepressants in pediatric patients submitted to the FDA, and the study found that the overall risk of suicidality from the clinical trials was 4% in patients receiving antidepressants and 2% in patients receiving placebo, and this had not been disclosed by the companies in the reports of their trials. One trial in particular stood out to me, and it showed that in patients aged 12 to 17 years with a major depressive disorder, suicidal events were most common when receiving Prozac alone at 14.7%, versus with combination therapy and Prozac at 8.4% and just cognitive behavioral therapy on its own at 6.3%. The meta-analysis led to the FDA issuing a black box warning, their strictest warning, for all antidepressants including Celexa, Luvox, Paxil, Prozac, Zoloft, Effexor, Remeron, Surzon, and Wellbutrin regarding their association with suicidal thoughts and behaviors in people younger than 18 years old. And more recently, this age on the black box was revised up to 24 years old, and the black box is required to be put on all those prescriptions. However, the FDA and Big Pharma still upheld the position that there was no increased risk in adults older than 24 and failed to disclose the full extent of negative side effects. A 2016 analysis conducted by Tarang Sharma revealed the rampant underreporting of negative side effects in clinical trials of antidepressants. The report explained that pharmaceutical companies failed to disclose the full extent of negative side effects from antidepressants in over 70 double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trials. And to avoid disclosing data on suicide attempts, the researchers would label them as emotional liability and worsening depression. In a systematic review of placebo-controlled trials in adult healthy volunteers, a meta-study found that antidepressants doubled the occurrence of events that the FDA has defined as possible precursors to suicide and violence. A 2005 meta-analysis by independent researchers, including 87,000 patients of all ages, found twice as many suicide attempts on antidepressant drugs versus placebos. The researchers suspected that some suicide attempts likely were unreported in the trials, and the response they received was that there were suicide attempts that had not been reported in some trials, while others replied that they did not even look for them. Another 2005 meta-analysis of 40,000 patients found a doubling in suicides or self-harm events when events occurring later than 24 hours after the randomized phase was considered over were included in the data. To be continued in the next video.